Our next guest has called on Mueller to resign. He says Mueller is in clear violation of federal law on conflict of interest. And joining us tonight is Congressman Trent. He's a member of both the Armed Services and Judiciary Committees, and it's great to have you with us. Let me go straight to the point. Is it really possible at this point, politically, I know legally it is, but politically, is it still possible for the president to fire Bob Mueller?
Well, I think it's possible. You know, I guess I think that might be in the president, not be in his best interest. But you know, I absolutely believe that this counsel should never have been appointed. And you know, I said early on that even though Mueller had cultivated a pretty good reputation, that most of these special counsels go off the rails, and certainly this one has. And I think Mr. Mueller is hurting his reputation because the partisan way that he's gone forward with this, he's not been a real arbiter of justice here at all, Lou. The people he's appointed, and just the fact that he is looking at the statute that requires him to disqualify himself and ignores it, undermines his very credibility as someone ostensibly upholding the law. And I just feel like somehow I hope that he has an epiphany in his own mind and heart here, because this is certainly, even if he gets away with it, it's certainly undermining his ultimate credibility.
The expression you use, getting away with it, is in and of itself, you know, I mean, it tells it like it is. This is a man trying to get away with something that he knows is illegal. He has already demonstrated himself, because he's ignoring the language and the spirit of the statute, and is with all of these conflicts of interest, whether it be with his personal relationship with Director James Comey, who the man he's investigating fired, or whether it be with his checkered career as a prosecutor himself and leader of the FBI. In all of those cases that he did not resolve, the man has a checkered background. I don't understand the acclaim with which his name was met to be special counsel, because it is, I think, a highly questionable record.
Well, I tell you, you know, public opinion is what everyone else thinks, and he had cultivated that reputation. But let me suggest to you that if he were trying to be on the jury of a case like this, he would summarily be dismissed immediately because he had obvious conflict of interest. Now, I believe that, as you know, that I believe he is in legal breach of the statute related to conflict of interest. But there's no reasonable person or even unreasonable person in the world that could suggest that there's not at least an appearance of conflict here. And that alone, according to the interpretation of the statute, is enough to disqualify him. It doesn't say may. It doesn't say if he wants to. It says shall.
So why aren't we hearing from your Judiciary Committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee? Why aren't we hearing from those chairs? Why aren't we hearing from Mitch McConnell and Speaker Ryan and demanding that this be straightened out and made right now?
Well, first, let me just say something about a few members on the House Judiciary Committee. There's a lot of them, I think, that are right where I am on this issue. But there is a strange conundrum here. I don't understand it. It seems like my friends on the left are willing to dismiss the best interests of the country in their quest for power, and my friends on the right are willing to dismiss the best interests of the country in their quest for respectability. They're so wanting to make sure that they're mainstream and they're not outside there in an area where they might be exposed somehow politically, that they're willing to just dismiss the truth of it all. And neither side has the right to go against the best interests of the country in either one of those pursuits. In
the case of the Republicans, you're talking about a speaker and a leader who are so affixed to the donor class and K Street and H Street, the lobbyists that saturate the swamp, that they really can't find it in their will to separate themselves and actually act out of principle in the interest of both the country and their party. I mean, this is
well. I think what you say is exactly right, but it goes further than that, I think, Lou, and that is that somehow there's this psychological need not to look like you're rocking the boat or you're standing up and somehow you're unreasonable, that somehow you're willing to fight if that's what's necessary, and that's why people elected us. It doesn't mean that we don't respect each other in spite of disagreements, but we don't stand by and hold ourselves unconstrained to the truth in the pursuit of, quote, respectability. And I'm afraid that happens a great deal, and it really concerns me as much as anything.
Let's examine this a little closer. Are you really saying that these congressmen don't understand that the President of the United States was elected to drain the swamp, to disrupt the comfortable little cult of corruption in Washington, D.C., that these congressmen apparently are so connected to that they simply can't let go?
Well, I think that's partly true. I think we've become so civilized. Now, I'm probably going to get beat up over this, but I think we've become so civilized that we have forgotten that sometimes that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. You've got to be willing to fight for it if it's what it is. And I think we've just gotten too comfortable. And I'm grateful, because I think this president might just be uncivilized enough to save this country.
Or he just might care enough, love this country enough, and the American people enough to sacrifice a very comfortable life and a good measure of his stomach lining to actually try to do something right.
Well, that's a better way of saying exactly the same thing. That's truly what I meant. I believe he cares enough, but I think a lot of the Republicans care. They just like their comfort zone more, and I think it's time that we stand up and do what's necessary. I think it's kind of telling here, if you look, getting back to the main subject, that they've just impaneled a grand jury. And if you look at where that was impaneled from, now I know they'll say it was out of just being convenient to the, but the fact is that was out of a jury pool in Washington, D.C. that voted for Hillary Clinton 96%. And I just find it, again, if Mr. Mueller is aware of this statute, then you'd think there would be a little more effort on his part to at least avoid such a blatant, obvious conflict of interest.
Congressman, I believe Mr. Mueller has shown us as clearly as it could be drawn who he is and what he is. And the fact that he is willing to just simply advance as special counsel, as you point out, I think tells us, again, all we really need to know about the man. What we're learning about now are two political parties and some of their representatives. And in the Republican Party, Trent is one of the good guys, and we